One final
action.
topic, and I'm going to limit you to about a minute and 15 seconds each. I'll tell you when to move on.
The state budget's been pretty tight. A lot of agencies have had to make cuts. What could be done in the Attorney General's office to trim some of the necessary money to balance the budget? Mr. DeWine, let's start with you.
I'll tell you the first thing that I would not do is what the incumbent did when he became Attorney General. He took over 40 people who had been in the Treasurer's office, political appointees, and his cronies, put them in the AG's office, gave them a significant raise at the same time when the technicians, the people who were working, the scientists who were working at BCI were being furloughed. That is not the right way to proceed. Just one final thought. I want to call everyone's attention to this article that appeared in your distinguished paper. And this, although I don't have much time to explain it, the Attorney General, along with Governor Strickland, sent a letter to 7 prosecuting attorneys around the state saying that they should review a DNA case. Look, we're all for justice. Prosecutors are sworn to get justice. But what he failed to understand was the facts of those particular cases. In one case, the DNA was totally consumed and gone, and everyone knew that.
We're going to move along.
One last thing. And one other case, 7 days before the Attorney General sent his letter, his own employee at BCI, an expert, had sworn affidavit and said testing this evidence would do no good.
Attorney General's office used to be a pretty substantial office at over 1,200 employees. Now under Mr. Cordray's administration, it's a 1,500 employee organization and growing. Quite honestly, there are cuts that need to be made. Now, I can tell you from a very real political standpoint, until you get the special interest money out of the office of Attorney General, we will not have any changes. Right? Now, this office has been in the hands of the Republicans, it has been in the hands of the Democrats, and every single time it grows larger and larger and larger. You never see any substantial cutbacks. Why? Because special interests have this office by the throat, and when you look at the campaign financing, they have these two guys by the throat. It's time that we get the special interests out of this office. And it's time that we have a change. I represent the disenfranchised voter, the voter that is sick of politics as usual.
Your time is up, Rich, a minute and a half.
Sure. Back to your question, what we have done in the Attorney General's office is we've cut millions of dollars out of the budget, contrary to the inaccurate so-called facts that are being thrown around here. Everybody in the office, including myself, has taken a 3.9% pay cut because of the budget issues, which is something that's never happened in the Attorney General's office before. Every vacancy that comes up, we are reviewing it before we fill it. The so-called cronies that Mike talks about that I brought from the Treasurer's office are the very people who cleaned up the Attorney General's office, the way it was loosely handling money, all the auditor citations that it had accumulated. These are things that we have corrected from the Mark Dan era. That's the cleaning up of government that we have done. Going back to the DNA lab, Mike keeps throwing around inaccurate comments and statements about the poor job that these professionals are doing who are hired under both Republican and Democratic administrations, and they're the best in the state. The Cleveland Plain Dealer assessed his comments the other day and found them to be misleading, inaccurate, at best half-truths. He talks about 60 cases that are supposedly behind. Those are outsourced to other labs. We are current with our work.
Dr. Cullen.
I appreciate it. In my experience, I've worked in hospital management consulting, and I've worked with large academic health systems that needed to re-engineer their systems to cut up to 30% out of their budget. And it can be done. And it can be done in the Office of the Attorney General in the same way. Start with zero-based budgeting. Don't start with what the budget was last year. You start with a budget of 0 and you build up. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you need to accomplish it? And every goal, every activity needs to be built in with a measurable result to say, are we achieving our goals? If we are confiscating 49,753 marijuana plants, is that decreasing the use of marijuana? Are we having more kids get off of drugs and finish school? We need to measure what our goals are, and we need to do what works, not what's politically expedient. Benchmarking against what others have done in other areas, and finally, cutting the corruption. Not when it turns up, but digging into the system, offering amnesty, offering integrity tests or stings, every level from the governor's office to the cop on the beat. Once we get out the corruption and inefficiencies and zero-based budgeting, we'll have a significantly more efficient system.
And that takes us right to the end of our time. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.